Hello everyone, this is Sarah and welcome to my crochet channel. Now today's video is another one of our vintage crochet patterns with a modern twist. And I'm really excited about this one because I had a wonderfully nice lady contact me and ask me if I had ever made a hot pad like this one. And it's really interesting. It's 3 squares. You have a front, you have a back, and then you have one that's in between that sit with the corners out here. And they work fantastic. They're nice and thick to put your hot pan or casserole dish straight out of the oven on, or a hot pot off the stove because it's nice and thick. And so what I did is I went and looked through my bins of crochet items and I found this red and white one. And as I was looking at it, I realized that I had used a cotton for the red, but I had used a regular worsted weight for the white. And so that is a no-no. All hot pads that are going to have a hot pan or casserole dish should be made out of cotton for safety because acrylic will melt. And so what I did is I purchased some cotton in some pretty colors. This one is like a blue, and so what I did is I took the pattern and I made the blue on the front and the blue on the back, and then I used a white cotton for the inside and for the trim and the tie. And that's our twist on this vintage pattern, is to use some new and bright cotton yarns. Now this is a free crochet pattern on my blog, and you can find that link down in the notes underneath this video. What you're going to need to make a hot pad like this one is you're going to need some cotton in a fun, variegated or bright color that you want to use on the front and the back. And I'm going to use this green stripy one. This is I Love This Cotton, and this blue one here that I used on this one is also I Love This Cotton. Now for the edging and for the inside, I'm going to use this bright green. And the cotton that I used on this white is the same as this one, which is peaches and cream in cotton. But you can use any cottons. Even the new Red Heart Smoothie cotton would be perfect for this project. The main thing is to have a nice colorful front and back, and maybe a solid to contrast. Or you could do that in reverse. Actually, it's your hot pad. Make it whatever colors you want to. We're going to be stitching today with our H hook. That's a 5.0 millimeter crochet hook. We're going to need our scissors, and then we're also going to need a needle for weaving in those ends. To make the hot pad, you're going to need to make 3 squares. And I'm going to show you how to make that square. We start with our slip knot. And we chain 5. We're going to take this chain 5 and form it into a circle. So we'll put the tail of our yarn on our hook and pull it through that last loop. And snug that down. We'll make that little stay knot to keep our loop from coming undone. We'll put our hook in that chain 5 loop, pull up a loop, and chain 3. All right, now we're going to need to double crochet because our chain 3 counts as 1 double crochet and we need 2. And then we'll chain 2. And now we're going to stitch 2 double crochets, chain 2, 3 more times. So yarn over, go in the loop, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, and go through the second 2. There's another double crochet. Now we'll do another one. And chain 2. And now we'll repeat this 2 more times. 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets, and chain 2. And now we're going to join to the chain 3 that we started at the top with a slip stitch. Pull a loop through and then pull that loop through the loop that's already on your hook. Alright, now we're going to place a slip stitch in that double crochet and then slip stitch in the chain 2 space and chain 3. And that just sets us up for our next row. You should have 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets, chain 2. For row 2, we've already got our chain 3 in our first chain 2 space, and it counts as our first double crochet. We're going to place another double crochet. We're going to chain 2, and then we're going to stitch 2 more double crochets in that same chain 2 space. Now we're going to place 1 double crochet in each of those first 2 double crochets. So we'll go right in that first one. Then we'll stitch a double crochet in the next one. And now we're to the next chain 2 space. So we're going to stitch 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 more right in that same chain 2 space, and this is at our next corner. And now we're going to do what we did over here. 1 double crochet in these 2 double crochets, 1 and 2. And then we're to the next corner, so we'll stitch 2 double crochets, we'll chain 2, and then we'll stitch 2 more double crochets, again stitching in that same chain 2 space. Alright, so now we're going to stitch a double crochet in those 2 double crochets, and now we're to our last corner, so we'll stitch 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets. And now we'll stitch a double crochet in those last 2 double crochets. We're going to join to the top of our chain 3. There we go. With a slip stitch. We'll slip stitch in the next double crochet, and then we'll slip stitch in that chain 2 space and chain 3. And now we're ready for row 3 because we have slip stitched to the corner. Let's do row 3 or round 3 since we're stitching around a granny square. Our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet, and we're going to do the corner the same. We're going to stitch another double crochet, we're going to chain 2, and then we're going to stitch 2 more double crochets in that same chain 2 space. So there's our first corner. Now we have these 6 double crochets in between, and we're going to place 1 double crochet in each of those 6. Here's our corner. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we're going to stitch the corner the same. 2 double crochets, 1 and 2, chain 2, and then 2 double crochets in the same chain 2 space. And now we have 6 double crochets again. So we'll stitch 1 double crochet in each of those 6. See how we're making a nice tightly weaved granny square. All right, so now we're to the corner again, and we'll just repeat. We'll do the corner the same as over here, and we'll stitch in those 6 stitches. We'll do the corner the same here, and we'll stitch in those 6 stitches, and then when we get back to the chain 3, we'll join. I've completed row 3. I'm going to join to the top of my chain 3, slip stitch in the next double crochet, and then slip stitch in the corner and chain 3. And now we're all ready for row 4. So we'll do the corner the same. Our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet, then we'll double crochet, chain 2, and then 2 double crochets in the same chain 2 space. Now we have 10 double crochets, and we'll stitch 1 in each of those 10 double crochets. And like I said, this is going to make a nice, thick, and tightly crocheted granny square. Perfect for our triple hot pad. So I'm stitching 1 double crochet in each of these 10 double crochets. And let's count to make sure we have the right amount. Here's our corner. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, it's really important to count because sometimes when you're stitching so tightly you can lose a stitch or add a stitch by accident. All right, so now we're to the next corner, and we'll stitch 2 double crochets right in that chain 2 space, chain 2, and then 2 more double crochets in that same chain 2 space. And then we'll just repeat what we did over here. 10 double crochets, corner, 10 double crochets, corner, 10 double crochets, and then join to the top of our chain 3. So I'm stitching my 10 double crochets. So I finished with row 4. I'm going to join to the top of my chain 3 with a slip stitch. I'll slip stitch in that next double crochet, and then I'll slip stitch in the corner. We're going to chain 3 and then finish our corner. So we need another double crochet, chain 2, and then 2 more double crochets. All right, so now we have 14 double crochets across. So we'll stitch 1 double crochet in each of those 14 double crochets. 1, Whoops. There we go. Alrighty, so there's the last one. Let's make sure we got it right. Here's our corner. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Alright, so now I'm to the corner. 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets. And again, we'll just repeat what we did on this row. We'll do a corner, 14 double crochets, corner, 14 double crochets, corner, 14 double crochets, and join to the top of the chain 3. So I completed row 5, 14 double crochets in between all the corners. I'm going to join to the top of the chain 3, slip stitch in the next double crochet, and slip stitch in the corner. This is our last row. Got my chain 3 there, and we're doing it exactly the same. We just have more stitches in between our corners. So we'll go ahead and finish up this corner. Chain 3 counts as our first double crochet, and then I stitched a double crochet, chain 2, and now 2 more double crochets. All right, so now we have 18 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. So we'll place 1 double crochet in each of those 18 double crochets, and then we'll do a corner. And this is our last row. So when we get back around, we're going to join and tie off. I'm stitching across, stitching 1 double crochet in each of the 18 double crochets on the side. There we go. Sometimes working with cotton yarn can be a little bit splitty, and you might get a string every now and then that just doesn't want to go where it's supposed to. Like that. So we just got to kind of work with it a little bit. Alrighty. Alrighty, so there's our 18 double crochets. Now we'll stitch our corner. 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 2 double crochets. And then we'll continue what we just did. 18 double crochets, corner, 18 double crochets, corner, 18 double crochets, corner, and then we'll join to the top of our chain 3, and we'll tie off and weave in that end. So I finished this last row, which is our 6th row. I'm going to join to the top of that chain 3 with that slip stitch, and we're going to cut our yarn and tie off. And I'm going to take this and pull it to the back. There we go. All right, so now I have one of my squares made. I made 2 more squares exactly like this green one in this variegated green color. And so now it's time to assemble our hot pad. All right, so I'm going to take one of my squares, and this is the bottom, so I want the outside that I've chosen to be the outside on the outside, and we'll set it square. Then we're going to take the green one that we made and we're going to set it this way. Then we'll set the other one on top. So now we have 3 thicknesses of nice thick cotton squares. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to begin stitching in this corner. If you're concerned that this is going to come apart, you can use pins and hold it in place if you want to. All right, so we're going to begin in this corner, but I'm going to bring the camera in a little bit closer so you can see what I'm doing. All right, this is the corner that we're going to begin, and we're going to go through those chain 2 spaces, join in our trim yarn, and I'm using the bright green for my trim. There we go. And then I'm going to place a single crochet in that chain 2 space. All right, now we're going to be stitching through both thicknesses of the front and the back, and we're going to stitch 5 single crochets. So we'll go through the first double crochet on this side and the first one on this side, and we'll stitch a single crochet. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so that's our first 5 stitches. So now we're going to be stitching in this middle layer. We're going to pull it out just enough so we can see it. Here's our chain 2 space, and then we're going to count back 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we'll go right in that 5th stitch, and we'll stitch a single crochet, and then we'll stitch 4 more for 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. That was where that chain 3 was, so it was a little bit tricky. All right, so there's 5. Then we're at the chain 2 space, so we're going to stitch 2 single crochets, 1 and 2. And I'm going to turn this a little, and then we're going to stitch down 5. Whoops. Get in there. All right. 1, 2, 3. Got 2 more to do. 4 and 5. And so we've stitched over that first portion of that middle section. Now we're going to go to this next corner, count back 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we'll put our hook through the 5th one on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the 5th one on this side. Snug it down, and there we go. 1, going through both the front and the back. 2, 3, there it is. 4 and 5. And this puts us to the next corner. So now we're going to go in that chain 2 space, making sure we go through both sides and stitch 2 single crochets. And then we're going to turn, and we'll stitch 1 single crochet in the next 5 going through the front and the back. Whoops, got a little stringy there. There we go. one more. There we go. And now we've gone around the next corner and we're getting ready for this corner. And now we're going to repeat what we did here over here. So we'll turn it a little, make sure we got that pulled up, and I always adjust it just a little bit, just like that. All right, so here's our chain 2 space, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we'll go right here in the 5th and single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let me pull this down so you can see. 2 single crochets in the chain 2 space, 1 and 2. And then we'll stitch in the next 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So now we've done the next side. We need to do a little adjusting to get where we need to be. There we go. Here's our chain 2 space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we'll put our hook through. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put our hook through here. And stitch 5 single crochets to the corner. Oops. There we go. Now we stitch 2 single crochets in the chain 2 space. Remember, you're going through both thicknesses, the top and the bottom, and then we stitch those 5 single crochets working down the side. One more. All right, and you can see how that works. And we'll continue to do this around these other sides, and then we'll join back to our single crochet. You can see that I finished stitching all the way around my hot pad. I've got my 5 single crochets here. I'm going to go right in that chain 2 space and stitch a single crochet because we already stitched 1, and then I'm going to join to that first single crochet with the slip stitch, and then I'm going to chain 15 chains. And this is going to be our hanging loop. So let's go ahead and cut our yarn. We want to leave ourselves enough so that we can weave that in that it's going to hold. Tie that off. And then I'm going to turn this over to the back. And I'm going to use my needle and sew that in place. And I'm going to go right around where I started. There's my loop. We don't want our loop to come undone because that's what we're going to hang our hot pad with. So now I'm just going to weave that back and forth through those top stitches. And clip that off, and then I also need to weave this one in. This is where we started our trim, and I'll do the same thing. I'll just go back and forth, making sure I go through stitches and fibers so that it's nice and tight and not going through the holes. Alrighty, so here is the way that your hot pad or pot holder should look. Now, you're probably going to question about this. And I just leave that. If you want to go through and sew that down, tack it down, you can. I don't. And if you do it the way that I did, you pretty much have a hot pad that it doesn't matter whether you have the front or the back. This is the back and this is the front, and we can hang it up by this loop. And that's how you make my triple thick hot pad crochet pattern.